So hello guys. So now we are going to understand the static and class methods in Python. So let's start with the introduction. So in Python, methods with a class can be of the three main types: instance methods, class methods, or static methods. As we can see in the notes that the instance methods, these are the most common type of methods. They operate on instances of the class objects and have access to instances data through the self parameter. Second, class methods. These methods are bound to the class itself, not to any particular instance. They have access to the class level attributes and can be used to modify the class state. They receive the class itself, conventionally named as CLS, as the first argument. And the third method, which is the static methods, these methods are associated with the class but they don't have access to either the instance which is we use self, or the class which we use CLS. They are essentially regular functions that are logically grouped within a class for organizational purposes. So now let's learn about the instance methods. So instance methods are the default type of method in Python classes. They require an instance of the class to be called, and they automatically receive the instance as the first argument self. So let us understand it by an example. Example1.py. So let's make a class named as dog. Firstly, we will initialize the function dependent with the self comma name, and then we'll give it self dot name equals to name. And what is it? It is an instance attribute. Okay, and now when we are let's make a function named as speak, where I am just giving the input self and then return says woof. So what does it mean? That the name of the dog will be there and it says woof. Okay, so let's try to call dot. So dog is equals to, let's give it dog and named it Bruno. So now let's print it. So what will it gives us in the Bruno says woof. Let's run it. As we can see, Bruno says woof. So now let's go on the next. Go ahead. So now let us see the class methods. A class method is marked with the class added class method decorator. It takes the class itself, CLS, which is the conventional, as its first parameter rather than the instance self. Class methods are often used for firstly modifying the class attributes, secondary factory methods. What do you mean by the modifying the class attributes? I mean that they can change the state of the class, which affects all the instances of the class. They can change the entire state of the class. And the second factory methods, what I mean with it, that they can be used as the alternative constructors to create instances of the class in different way. So what do I mean by different way? Let us understand it by an example. So let's create a class named as animal. So let's name the variable named as species is equals to mammal. So what is it? It's a class attribute. Directly it's a class attribute. So now what we can do, that we can use the decorator class method and make a function set under the class animal, set species, and with the conventional CLS and the new species. The class attribute is species is equals to mammal. So CLS dot species is equals to new species. So what we have done in this line number 6, we just modifies the class attribute, which is mammal. Now let's create a different function, get species CLS. Remember, each time we have to use, if we want to use a decorator, each time we have to write it. And the work of this function will be just return the species. Okay, now let's see what we can do with it. Let's print animal dot get species. Now let's call it, we are calling it. Okay, so what will it print? It will print directly mammal, which is pre-stored in it. Okay, so now let's do the modification with the code. We have to set the species to, let's say, reptile. So let me print it now. Get species, again call the function, and now what will it print? It will print firstly mammal and then reptile. So you can also do one thing. You can call the class methods or instances, but it's less common by the way, as we can just assign it with the value animal and then just print it get species. So what will it print now? What will be the value of it? It will print again reptile. So what we should get? Mammal, reptile and reptile. Let's check mammal, reptile and reptile. Okay, so let's let's try it more with one more example. Let's create a class. I am in this example I am going to help you with the alternative constructors. So let's create a class named as person. Initialize the function with the self comma, let's take two variables, name comma age, and in it self dot name, for example, is name, and self dot age is equals to age. And now we are going to use a decorator class method. So def from, let's make a function named as from string. We are using the conventional CLS, like in instance we are using self and we are using CLS and data. So name and age is going to equals to data dot split. We are splitting it, and dot split it turns into list, as we all know, with the hyphen in between. So now what we want in return is, we want CLS with the name comma int of age. Age should be in the int, we not want it in the string format. So what I created here, I created a new person instance here. So now let's do one thing. Let's call it person dot from a string and named it as Alice. Let's name the person Alice, and with the three in a single string only. Let's his age 30. Okay, and now we are going to print it. Print p dot name comma p dot pre dot age. So now what should it print? We are giving it an Alice. Now Alice that is going to here, and it will split it in between the Alice and 30 as the value of the end. So now let's run it. Alice 30. Okay. So in this example, from string acts as a factory method, provides an alternative way to create a person object from a string. So this is known as the factory method that we studied here. So now let's go to the static methods. So static methods are marked with @static method decorator. They are similar to regular functions only, except they are defined with the scope of a class. Okay. So usually they don't take self or CLS as a parameters. They they want to remain independent only. So they are useful when a method is logically related to a class but doesn't need to access or modify the instance of the class state. So oftenly they are used for the utility functions that are related to the class. So let us understand the static methods also with an example, which is example number 4. So let's previously we were talking about the utilities, so let's make a class named as math utils. Okay, and now we are going to use the static method decorator. Static method. Okay, just simple as that, and then just make a function add a comma b, a simple function that returns the sum of value a plus b, as simple as that. So now previously you can't make a class which is not initialized, not have self, but with the help of the static method decorator now you can just made a full-fledged function under the class mathutils simply. So now let's try it. Now mathutils dot add 3 comma 5. So now what is it going to give to us? Let's try it. It's give us 8, correct, and can also be called on an instance as well. So let's be, I can just name the m is equals to mathutils and then again print it, so it can be called on the instance as well. Okay, so now the question comes that when to use the static methods. So we can use the static methods when a method is logically related to a class but doesn't require access to instance specific or class specific data. For utility functions that perform operations related to the class's purpose, example mathematical calculations or string formatting or validation checks, etc., we can use the static methods there. So now let us understand what are the key differences between this all the type of methods that we have learned right now. We have understood the three methods: instance method, class method, and static method. So what requires self? As we have seen that instance methods requires self only, and the class methods use CLS, and static method doesn't any need. Which requires CLS? Instance method no, static no, yes. can access instance attribute. Which can access instance attribute? As we have learned that instance method, yes, class method can be but no directly, and static methods no, it not want to use it. Static methods want to remain independent only. So can we modify the class attributes? Yes, but indirectly, as we have learned in the session. Class methods directly and static method no. So that's for the today's session. Now let me give the recap to you so that all the things can be fixed in your mind. So what are the instance methods? Instance methods are the most common type and operate on individual objects named as self. What are class methods? Class methods can operate on a class itself, CLS, and are often used for the factory methods or modifying the class level attributes. And now, what are the static methods? Static methods are just a utility functions within a class that don't depend on the instance or class state. They are like the regular functions that are logically grouped with a class. So that's all for today, guys. And if you have any doubts, just drop it into the comment section. I will try to solve it out. Thank you. See you in the next video. Bye bye.